all around us, that there's suffering and there seems to be evil, or even the hurricanes. I know there have been people who've been saying that someone created it, but you cannot create a hurricane like these. You just can't. Not yet. Hopefully never. Right? I mean, it's been amazing to watch this and how many people have suffered. We have the poor people who are in North Carolina. Some have lost everything. Some still don't have power or struggling to get by. And yet we hear of these amazing stories of people who are choosing to struggle against this and to help people. There's one story I saw this morning about a deputy named Jack Thorpe who went around with his canine dog Fiji and for 10 days searched for the lost. And he ended up finding 20 people who had been missing. Now that's an amazing feat, is it not? How he was driven to do something, to help those who had been suffering, to help give peace to those who lost someone and didn't know if they were out there or not. That's amazing. We have more amazing stories like this. This is what we're encouraged to do. That God says, instead of asking me why I let this happen, ask, what can I do about it? Because God sends us, right, to do something. And so we go to the Lord in prayer, and sometimes he does amazing things, and then other times God is silent. This is called the dark night of the soul. When you're praying and searching for answers, and you don't get any, or we don't get any. And it seems like we're in darkness, that God's not doing anything. But we do believe that God is doing something and we're just not aware of it. There's no way we can understand the ways of God and what God is up to. And that's why we have that wonderful Footsteps poem. That idea that while we are struggling and crying out to the Lord and even suffering, the Lord is carrying us. And that we saw the footprints were only one set, and it was the Lord carrying us, lifting us up. So during the dark nights of the soul, we are encouraged to seek support, to seek help. And that even when we're crying out, there are other people who are rising up to help. I think about another story of a man named Dr. Ethan Hames, who was a doctor intern at Texas Children's Hospital, and he was seeing the illegal gender care program go on. And he didn't think it was right, and he spoke up. And then the truth came out, and then they found out that they were doing things that they shouldn't be. Because he cared about the children, that they were being led by the government agencies or the hospital instead of the parents, and doing things that weren't approved of. So here's another example of someone who had the courage and faith to stand up against people who were doing wrong. And so sometimes we do find people who can help us. Mr. Rogers said that you should always look for the helpers, right? Look for the people who really can help you. Because sometimes we can have the experience of Job, where we go to friends and family and we tell them our problems and our struggles, and all they do is say, well, what did you do wrong? It was probably you that did this and that, and why would God be against you? And that's what Job went through. That his friends didn't necessarily help him, or they didn't empathize. Sometimes people need to find other people who understand what they're going through. That there's the difference between sympathy and empathy. Some people can have empathy for you. They understand because they've gone through something similar, or they just have one of those hearts that they're able to listen without talking. Right? That's sometimes hard, to hear someone's troubles and not give them an answer or not try to fix it.